Hey guys, I found another almost good map. Undertow Spillway is a dark, dreary looking map set in a flood bypass. The main gimmick of the map is mid being split in half by a central divider, which makes movement around the stage very complex and interesting. The stage can get cramped at times, especially in mid, but the cover added by the geometry helps to alleviate that issue somewhat. The spawn area is large and gives access to the whole map, though because you spawn in the left corner, going over to the right, which contains a route they removed in Turf War, is rather time consuming. Mid is split into two very thin troughs by the divider, with glass snipe points above them for backlines. These are easily gotten into from spawn, but with proper map control or a sneak attack, the backline can be taken out. There are large pillars all over the stage, acting as cover and also as fun zipcaster spots, and giving the stage even more of a unique identity. Let's start with Turf War. Turf War on Undertow is good. The stage is decently large, and with the split mid gimmick, flanks happen quite often, so you've got to check your map, for you never know when there's a random sploosh in your base. A lot of the spawn area is available for the enemy team to enter, the only entrance for them being an uninkable ramp, whereas the defending team also has a sponge, but there's a decently sized layer in the spawn that is unreachable for the attackers, allowing for defenders to retake. Most of my Undertow Turf War matches end up pretty even, and a lot of the end screens end up looking like this. Overall, it's a pretty fun map mode. Splat zones. So people hate this one for some reason. Here we have the first double zone map of this video series. The central divider makes having two zones a no-brainer, while also allowing for sight over both zones, but also leaves you vulnerable due to the snipe perch that overlooks one zone in the middle of the two, but cannot do much to the zone on the same side as it, even if the glass floor lets you see what's going on there. It's important to have an eye on both zones at all times, even if one is already capped, because of the cover blocking shots and sight from the enemy team, who can easily get to your side and take you out. Retake is quite difficult on this map. I've had a lot of my matches either end in 100-0 knockouts where my team win, or 100-0 knockouts where the other team wins. This is due to the drop from spawn onto low ground, meaning you can be picked off by any weapons with range, bombs or special charged. Overall, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's a fun map to be the winning team on. Rainmaker, the tournament legal one. Undertow Rainmaker is pretty epic. Both paths have their niches, pushes can be made and ended pretty easily so it doesn't lock out too much. The Rainmaker is in the middle of the central divider, but there's no glass on the snipe point so the shield and mid can't be camped too easily. The right checkpoint is a fast route to get some easy quick points, being a really short distance from where the Rainmaker spawns, with the downside that it's a trench right next to the enemy team's spawn, so it's easier to kill the Rainmaker from the high ground. The left path is a lot more safe, going far away from where the enemies spawn, and being behind cover for a bit of it. The trade-off being that the checkpoint is a lot further away from the initial shield placement, and then a lot further away from the goal, meaning that although the route is safer overall, it's slower than the right route. From the checkpoint, the right route is an uninkable ramp, and then a short distance to the goal, only really used in the case of a wipeout in mid. However, the left route is much more useful. After the checkpoint, there are two ways to go, along this uninkable path or around the Great Path. The Great Path leaves you vulnerable, but also behind cover for some of it. Then you end up on the platform that can be guarded so you can't easily sneak past. With the uninkable path, you can easily use VAC or Tent Shield to force the Rainmaker through. However, this method has flaws. This just goes to show how haired Infinity are at Undertow Rainmaker. Overall, a really fun mode with good uses for each part of the map. Tower Control, the map mode I got my first ever quad on. The tower path is the usual. It goes from mid to the left side and then back to the centre. The first checkpoint is still on the central divider, only a short distance from where the tower is to begin with. This can sometimes make for a back and forth stalling situation where neither team really gets past the checkpoint for quite some time. After this, however, it becomes quite the opposite, and pushes can snowball very easily, with checkpoint 2 being in a favourable position for the attackers, having easy jumps to level ground with the defenders and cover to hide behind. This then goes on to checkpoint 3, where the attackers can jump directly onto the defenders' spawn area, making it even more difficult to retake and stop the push. All of the shortcomings of the mode are present, and the extreme low ground in mid doesn't help it, but it certainly isn't the worst tower control map. Clan Blitz. The clams are spaced nicely. The clam basket is in a pretty good place, allowing for the attackers to push in 3 routes. A safer one that's a further distance away from the clam basket, a straightforwards one that's easily defendable, and a side route used predominantly by fast-moving weapons such as wiper, sploosh, and short-range shooters. The central divider makes it a bit difficult to switch what route you're taking, because you have to waste time swimming up it and making your whereabouts really obvious when you're on the top of it. Pushes can sometimes go on for a bit too long with the various ways to push, retreat, and set up, but mostly you can stop pushes well enough. It's my second favourite undertow mode, but it's a guilty pleasure. Whoa guys, they did tricolour on this map. For the tricolour variation, they took away the right side of the spawn, removed the glass in the snipe perch, moved the location of the uninkable ramp, and added spawn areas for the defenders. The ultra signal is decently easy to get to, but leaves you very vulnerable on the central divider. Vac cheese is good here due to the small amount of flanks and the thinness of mode, however, simply play a roller or splatana and... If the attacking team gets the ultra signal, it's not all over for the defenders. There is enough of mid and easily accessible enemy spawn area to paint, so they can still win even though there's a big sprinkler of doom. Not the greatest tricolour has to offer, but a decently balanced map that doesn't diverge from what made the map good in the first place. Pretty sweet. Undertow Spillway is overall a really fun map, but the lack of flanks and the fact that the only way to push is with brute force through mid detracts from the experience, but not too badly. Hopefully now that reworks are a confirmed thing, Undertow can get the necessary changes to bring it up the tier list.